Pat, you always hit me with this surprise in the intro, so it's my turn to give you a little something, something. You ready?
Yes.
All right, I need absolute silence from everyone. I'm breaking edge tonight, boy!
Breaking edge for the first time in 30 years.
No, it is a Simple Truth organic strawberry watermelon seltzer water.
You yelled
which
at
I
me
will
for
be
drinking seltzer water the one time.
Well, okay. I knew you were going to give me grief, so I'm going to drink it
Only because you gave me
sparingly.
grief. I'm not the freaking grief master here.
Well, you were lying and it was beer anyways.
That's true. That's true.
All right, let's start the show. What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast.
Hey, Tom. It's a pretty high energy. I would say the energy is pretty high. Can you feel it?
Is that one of the things where if you have to declare it, it probably isn't?
Can you feel it? You take your negative energy and your little seltzer water and you get out of here, man.
No, I'm excited, man. We're talking about...
You were lying and it was beer anyway. That's not the point. Anyway. Yeah, we are finishing up a marathon session of recording. During that stretch, I've referenced the Fall Out Boy episode that I think at least by now would have aired, technically.
Maybe.
It's cool. Thanks for being here, everybody. We're pretty tired, but we have a pretty exciting one just because we were thinking of reasons, or I guess ways to, and forgive me if there's a little rain in the back. It's been pretty rainy here in North Carolina for...
Oh, nice.
The better part of a month. You say that, but then like you get out and it's muddy, and when you're taking the dog out, we don't have like a fenced-in yard, so when she's sniffing around and we're getting all soaked, it's like you don't want to yank or anything. You don't want to be that person, but sometimes it's like, oh man, come on. Anyway, that's super music-related nugget of information there. Basically, I wanted to do an all-time low episode for a while now. Weightless, their hit. I guess you can call it a hit, from 2009, turned 10 last year. We couldn't really find the time to squeeze it in because we were just figuring out what the show was going to be, and things have been kind of, I've been using this term a lot lately, but snowballing on us. We're getting deeper into the niche. People have been recommending certain episodes here and there. We've been kind of picking and choosing the subject matter a little more, I guess, putting more care into that process.
Right, sure.
Especially during this stretch where we've been doubling up and trying to give Tom a little leeway to take the first time off he's probably taken in a 2-year span from launching his audio company and stuff.
You keep saying vacation, but I'm going to be working the entire 2.5 weeks. I'm just going to be not at home. So
Is
I'm going to be working
one of the jobs, or
no? I'm going to be editing.
I'm joking with you.
I'm going to be editing, and it's just going to be much more inconvenient. So it's not a vacation. It's just going to be more inconvenient work time. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it'll be in Southern California, and then Florida, coast to coast.
You're a coast to coast man. If anybody knows anything about you, it's that you're Mr. Coast to Coast. I think we should.
Can you call me that for the rest of the
I was just going to say, just because we're in podcasting doesn't mean that we can't have old-timey radio nicknames and stuff. So here's Tom, Mr. Coast to Coast Kelly, coming at you with the Live 40 at 1010.
Hey, it's Mr. Coast to Coast.
Mr. Coast to Coast knows.
All right. Anyways, so we're not doing.
No, I want to keep imagining what that world would look like if that was your name and you were alive in like the 60s or something.
Mr. Coast to Coast
knows.
All right. So, anyways, Mr. Coast to Coast here.
He knows. That's right.
Dear
Coming
Maria.
at you from one of the coasts. Take your pick, ladies and gentlemen.
We got Dear Maria, Count Me In, which on the Valentine's Day episode, I think I just referred to it as Dear Maria. I honestly didn't know Count Me In was part of the title. I maybe just forgot. Maybe that's the way LimeWire gave it to me, and I've been living a lie all these years. I guess Mr. Coast to Coast doesn't know. But this was one of the singles.
Hey. Don't be... Mr. Coast to Coast does know. Okay? I don't want to hear this. You've been negative from the minute we started this thing. And I'm not going to come into one of the catchiest songs written in the aughts with a negative attitude like that.
Wow.
Because we're going to get to the bridge, and it's going to takes are going to be had about whether or not it stacks up to the Cruel Summer bridge that Taylor Swift had on her most recent Lover album. It's catchy. It's one of the catchiest things ever recorded in the history of sound capturing. And let's just pick it up a little bit. All right, Mr. Coast to Coast. Let's just have some respect. Mostly because I'm scared that I don't want to spend the whole episode, I don't know. This is the first time we've got to kind of spew our all-time low takes into the ether. So I'm a little scared about how it's going to go because I want to just get some positivity out there first just in case it gets weird. But if nothing else, one of the catchiest songs ever, right? Can we establish at least that baseline?
Yeah, definitely. I, again, picked it on the Valentine's Day draft. And is that where we got the idea, or where you got the idea to do this video? Because I had mentioned that I thought I saw on Genius Lyrics or something that this was a song about falling in love with a stripper. And we were both kind of like, I don't know if I believe that. It seems pretty subtle, maybe a stretch. And then we watched the music video.
Yeah. Listen to the lyrics and it was like, oh, it's only about it. It is very much about it. Maria's the stripper. So there you go. Maria is in fact the stripper. But I don't know. There's a lot to go over. I think I interrupted what would have been an otherwise pretty good flow into some fast facts. Is that right?
Well, there's not much. I mean, it's definitely one of their most played songs. I have a couple numbers for you, but I couldn't find any real facts except for one passage from Wikipedia, which I will be reading. But basically, I think it was early last year, the band celebrated 100 million streams on Spotify of this song. Their YouTube channel, or actually it's Hopeless Records, this video has over 57 million views, and it was certified platinum, which is the equivalent of 1 million purchases in 2015. And in your head, is All Time Low a platinum selling band?
So I was listening to some of the other songs, like, in my head, yes. Like, we did the Wonder Years episode, and we were like, this belongs in the, Mount Rushmore of music in general, right? But really it didn't, it was just kind of a niche band from Philly, that kind of an underground pop punky thing of the latest decade. But in my head at the time, yes, if you would at the time, hey, is All Time Low the biggest band in the world? I would have been like, yeah, man, why? Who's asking? Are you a cop? You know what I mean? But basically, I didn't realize that. I mean, they got kind of poppier the more they went along. I think that's why we were hesitant to do an episode on Weightless itself and some of the later stuff. But then again, I went back and listened to some of the recording quality of the earlier stuff. Like, I loved Break Out and Coffee Shop Soundtrack. And this is no joke, I had playlists in the past, numerous, with both the Punk Goes Acoustic version of Jay-Z Ray and the real version of Jay-Z Ray on the playlist on purpose. And I just would listen to both of them because I love the song that much.
It's so good.
But there's songs like one of the best songs to run to ever. Like, I know we recently did a 4 Year Strong episode, and it's technically qualifies under the FDA guidelines as a drug, an upper, I think. But Jay-Z Ray would be right there with it. Here's what I have to say about songs like Remembering Sunday and some of the other ones, I guess, is you start to wonder, was this just a basement show band that was scene famous? But then you say, no, definitely not. Dear Maria was one of the biggest hits of that niche era, this 4 year span we often reference on the podcast. And platinum's no joke, right? I mean, we just did a Gives You Hell episode a few weeks ago, and
quadruple platinum.
This is one of those serious number things, but am I surprised by it? I think I'm going to say I am. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that everyone that I could remember at the time loved this song. I feel like it was kind of a song that transcended, like, friends of mine who liked hardcore, friends of mine who liked pop punk, friends of mine that liked emo. They all liked this song.
Well, I didn't know it was the hit. I thought Jay-Z Ray was the hit, but I saw them open up for, it was the first or second Skiba tour that Blink did, and they were in Pittsburgh. I was there with my friend Joe and his wife. We tailgated. It was a good time. But then I was watching and waiting for them to I was like, oh, they're saving Jay-Z Ray for last. And they didn't even play it, and then closed things out, as far as I can remember, with, again, this is subject to human error. You can go on setlist.com and correct me. Please do. I hope I'm wrong. But I believe they didn't even play Jay-Z Ray and closed things down with Dear Maria, Count Me In. Is it parentheses? Do we have to say parentheses? Or can we just reference it as Dear Maria for the rest of the episode because it's going to get confusing?
Totally.
Graduation. We're going to graduation, in parentheses, the graduation song. Just going to litter Scrubs references. In every episode, there's a point where it could go and become a Scrubs episode, and I have to fight the urge every time. But yeah, they didn't play it. I was like, I was so off. I thought Jay-Z Ray was the clear, like, you know, if they were famous for anything, it would have been that because it was chosen for the Punkos acoustic album and everything like that. But yeah, Dear Maria transcended, I think, probably genres like you mentioned. And was it the first one you were aware of, or what was the first all-time low moment for you? Like, how did they even come to on your radar?
I think it might have been Sam Cray because
Sherpa status, right? We've established.
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Sure. Okay.
So I usually discover bands in pairs, and I was made aware by Sam Cray of Mayday Parade and All Time Low at the same time. So I always group them together in my head. You know, slightly very different, but
are they though? Because I wanted to talk about that. Well, I'll let you finish. But I do want to circle back.
All right, we'll keep a note. So I think the first song I heard was the acoustic JC Ray, and then the original one, and then Dear Maria,
which was one of the best Punkos acoustic tunes. It just was. Not all of them were winners.
Was it Punkos acoustic, or was it just them doing an acoustic version of their song?
I believe it was a Punkos contribution.
Sure. Yeah, so I heard those first three. I had Remembering Sunday. I had the other one you referenced earlier. I just had the LimeWire downloads, whatever was available on LimeWire. And there's something about Dear Maria that there's a few songs and a few bands that make me think of the drive to the Edinburgh area from Erie, which was like a 30, maybe 25 if you're speeding minute drive south from Erie to a small college town where all of the music was happening. Like if you wanted to go to a show, it was in Edinburgh, and you could not wait to go to that show.
If you're just joining us, and you're one of the recent people who just started listening, of which there are several, shockingly more than several, actually. Kind of the two, we're from Erie, Pennsylvania. The two main venues, Forward Hall, which is more on French and like 26, I think, and kind of near a hippie hemp shop type place.
Downtown,
right?
Erie.
Uptown, I guess, but yeah, in the city. But yeah, the only other option was to find a ride somehow before all of us had license, because it's not like they were technically underage matinee, like hardcore dry shows or anything, but that they didn't serve booze at this venue, so they ended up taking on that kind of identity, I felt like. But if you could find a ride, it was like a snowy drive often because it was Erie, so I guess just statistically it would have been more snowing more often than not. But yeah, the Hangout was the better venue, I think, with the slope stage heading up. It was, I don't know, did you have a preference?
I definitely preferred the Hangout, mostly because of the community that was built around it. I think it was technically like a church community center, but they never pushed the Christian thing. It was just like a really awesome, like reformed theater that used to be just like two theaters.
Yeah, it was a theater when my parents went to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like a space where students, Fighting Scots, I think is their mascot, but where Fighting Scots had been gathering for decades, but it had taken on several identities over the years, I think.
And it was a huge art school. There were a ton of musicians, a pretty good music program there. So the Edinburgh Hangout was just like this perfect culmination of our friends, or like my friends who were freshmen in college, their world was opening up and they were really diving into their music, getting real artsy. I would have been about 17 at the time, so I probably was going out there right after getting my learner's permit. And like so Under Oath makes me think of the exit off of, what is that, 79? Which goes north and south.
You take 79 south to Edinburgh from where you would have lived, or both of us.
So the exit you get off 79 to get to my house was Kearsarge, which was by the Mill Creek Mall.
Yeah.
And Under Oath makes me think of...
You got off at Kearsarge.
Yeah,
well, you were pretty far from the lake, man. I can't believe I walked to your house that one time. That puts
like
into perspective. It was like, yeah, at least.
But All Time Low makes me think of like midway through the drive and just like blasting this like super high energy. And I'm like hyped to see my friends that I only see on weekends at shows. And like, I think that experience, that association to the song makes me love it so much more, because my mom would let me borrow her car and I would have total freedom for the weekend, see my friends, be in the music scene, which is like, people weren't super mean to me at school or anything, but I never felt like I meshed with most of them.
Yeah, but you weren't drinking shitty coffee at 1 a.m. with them at Perkins in Erie County. You know, like your people were in the scene. I think that's at least fair to say.
For sure, yeah. So it was just like my people, and I was so stoked. And so when I hear Dear Maria, it's like, yo, my life is about to be complete after suffering through a week at high school that I hated. So there's like some very strong emotional attachments to this song that really like remain with me to this day.
I actually, come to think of it, I have used All Time Low in a fictional capacity. Let me rephrase. I have gone to 2 fake All Time Low shows. So my mom must have been aware of the band as well, at least through my lying.
Oh my God,
lying to her.
Yeah. Pat,
I know.
Have we told this story?
We did a long time ago, but it was so long ago it might be worth retelling. Let me tell the first iteration first. Doug and Jacob, and I'll just use their first names. We can bleep them later, whatever. Went to No, here's the thing. The All Time Low was actually playing at the Hard Rock, or the was there a Hard Rock in Cleveland? Or no, what would that have been? House of Blues? House of Blues.
House of Blues, yeah.
They were playing, but we got to the ticket booth, and I don't know if we didn't plan to see the show or our guts didn't tell it, but there were so many young teen girls in line that we just did what probably plan A was to begin with, was to eat White Castle, because we didn't have one in Erie, and Harold and Kumar had just probably come out, and go to my sister's apartment, which was near Case Western's campus, and drink $2 Chuck or cheap wine, right? Just kind of, we were away from Erie. It was our little night to like have a thing. So that was instance one where my mom, who always knew when I was lying and just, weighed the consequences of having to deal with it and like, whatever. So we technically got away with it that time, but not really. I don't know. We just drank bad wine, and I didn't even get to see my sister, so it wasn't that fun. But so that's the first instance where I lied about going to an All Time Low show, when there actually was an All Time Low show to go to. I think building off of that momentum, we said that there, when you and I don't know, should we tell the whole thing? Has it been long enough?
The year was 2008, and it was the day that DJ AM and Travis Barker got into a plane accident. Let's set the scene, okay?
Sure.
And I was hanging out with Mark Snyder, and I get a last-minute call from Pat saying, you want to go to Central Pennsylvania? Shippensburg, Pennsylvania?
University. I don't know if that's the name of the town, but Shippensburg University, which is, you know how like they have, deer crossing signs? If you go to the shore, they have like, or the beach, they have like turtle crossing signs, and it's kind of cool. There are Amish buggy crossing signs in this part of Pennsylvania. Man, we've gone too far. I don't think there's enough new listeners that we should just do it. Anyway, the lie was this. We were going to go watch, and listen to me here, Brand New and All Time Low on the same ticket in Pittsburgh. No venue information provided. This was a week before my family's Camry just hit 200,000 miles.
Oh, yeah.
And they were barely going to get to Chicago the next weekend for my cousin's wedding, as it stood. And they let me take it to Pittsburgh. I hate everything about both of these stories I'm telling, just because you realize, anyway, we were young and it was bad. I'm not trying to sound cool. This is just how it happened. And I like the fact that I was really assuming my mom knew so little about my musical taste that she didn't question why would Brand New and All Time Low be on the same ticket in Pittsburgh tonight. Because really that bill doesn't make a ton of sense at all. And I do, again, I want to keep hitting the song because I want to hit it. I do want to talk about whether or not All Time Low was closer to Brand New or Mayday Parade in the whole range of what we would listen to at the time, or what this show covers. But moving on with the story, I show up at your house and we immediately go get what?
I don't remember. Doritos and Mountain Dew?
A lot of Mountain Dew. As much as the Dollar Tree would let us buy. It was a pallet, I think. Technically, I think it qualifies as a pallet. I don't think we returned with any left. We were only gone for 24 hours
26
tops, right?
hours we were gone.
26 hours, right. From 6 p.m. to like 8 p.m. Only because this was pre TomTom. This was
We navigated with a paper map.
Right. Anyway, the goal was there was this girl that my family and I, every once in a while we'd go to Stone Harbor, New Jersey, which is in southern New Jersey. It's not like the show The Jersey Shore makes it out to be. That stretch is very quaint and it's lovely, actually. I really think it's a nice beach. It's kind of it's a town for older people. It's not too party or anything, but it's nice. It's a nice stretch. But one time when I was a young kid, I met this girl there, and it was like I was teen enough to kind of flirt for the first time in public. Like it had my parents wandered farther, and like my brother and I were out in the water, and this girl, it's not worth using names, but I think she shared her AIM password with me or her screen name with me after talking about how much we planned or wanted to see Wedding Crashers, which was just coming out or something. I might be mixing multiple memories, but sometimes we put together pretty 2000s sentences, and I'm pretty sure it was a Wedding Crashers, or at least a Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, Ben Stiller comedy, like, you know, which movies of theirs we liked at the time. I think Zoolander and Meet the Parents and stuff had just been coming out. Anyway, it was a lovely discussion as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, we played some cards on the beach. My mom, I think, leaned over to my sister and was like, is Pat like flirting with a girl? This is awkward. Like, is that technically allowed on vacation? Which we should talk about right now, actually.
Ooh.
Was I crossing a line as a teen by even going there? Or was I fully in my right mind to chat with a stranger on the beach that day?
You should have her right in front of your parents.
Oh my gosh. Okay, moving on. Okay. So you're saying it's at least fair game to say hello if you're in the water. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Anyway, got the screen name, chatted. She went to college. She was a year or two older than me. I got this bright idea after watching probably Euro Trip or any other of the several dozens of movies that involve a guy traveling to see a girl at that age in, I don't know, Euro Trip, Road Trip, I don't know, name your movie. So I think I was inspired by the movie Euro Trip. This isn't where I park my car, ha ha ha. And we decided, I grabbed Tom, we grabbed some Mountain Dew, and we just headed south towards Pittsburgh for a fake all-time low brand new show. And this car is about to break down. Could break down at any minute. My family needs it for a wedding the next week. We know to vaguely go east after Pittsburgh, and we get on not 80 because we went all the way to Pittsburgh. So I forget which highway we got on.
The Turnpike, probably.
Who's to say, man? We had a literal atlas, and we were just eating Doritos, and we were high on life. Eventually, we get there, and she's allegedly on a camping trip, which I don't blame anybody for how this next 5 minutes of the story goes down. Her roommate said hello, and we were like, hi, we're real.
Oh, yeah, she let us in.
Yeah, they let us print out MapQuest directions to DC.
God.
Yeah, so we actually got in, and they gave us where the camping, because she's a freshman at college, she, rightfully so, should have been just having fun with freshman stuff. And I think we were trying to use the element of surprise or whatever, taking, again, advice from the worst, like, movies that we happen to be the right age at the right time to have seen, right? Like, no one should live their life based on what Euro Trip is, or that Tom Green movie. I think it's just Road Trip, where he, like, enjoys feeding mice to snakes too much or something, but I'm getting off track. We decide to go see if we can meet up with them at the state park where this alleged outdoors group is camping, which what I'm pretty sure happened is the roommate was like, this doesn't feel right. I'll cover for you. We'll send them to whatever state park. They can pass some buggies on the way, Amish buggies on the way, and it's all going to be good. Totally right move. This was probably just the right way. I think we would have had a nice time had everyone been involved, because Tom and I are just fun-loving fellows, but no, honestly, it was the right move, all things considered. We get to the state park. I don't know what our plan was, like to say boo when we got to the campfire or something.
And also, they just sent us to the general entrance of a state park, not where in the park they would be.
No, yeah. So we turn around immediately. At this point, it's dark, and you had been texting on your Razor. That Razor went through some serious times. Yeah. And I'll kind of let you pick it up from here on where the night took a pretty insane turn, because we had already doubled our mileage just by going from Pittsburgh to Shippensburg. That's another at least 2 hours into South Central PA, which is very different than saying South Central LA. I'm not saying it was dangerous in that way. I'm just saying it was farther. And that's geographically where it was, South Central Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth itself.
So we are 400 miles away when we were supposed to be 110 miles away.
Sure.
In the middle of the state. And I'm talking to my girlfriend, Hannah, who just recently started her freshman year of college in Maryland. And I mean like deep Maryland, like not anywhere near anything Maryland. And I was telling her about the trip. Hey, we're at the state park, whatever. How crazy would it be if we could meet somewhere in the middle? And she convinced one of her friends who is from Hagerstown, Maryland, to drive Hannah and one of their other friends like 150 miles to Hagerstown, Maryland, because hey, we're only 400 miles away. We were still like 400 miles from Maryland. So we drove like another 5 hours or something. She convinced a friend to drive her 150 miles.
Meanwhile, God knows where Jesse Lacey and Alex Garstark are in this fine evening, because heaven knows they weren't in Pittsburgh together playing this show, right? Just keep in mind, that's the lie that's going on during this entire thing.
God, this is turning into a very different episode than we planned, but...
It's the only good story we got, so every 100 episodes we got to tell it, I feel like.
So we meet at a Silver Diner in Maryland.
Just on the Beltway, just like figuring it out as we go, like... Pick a place where we can stop, and then they have GPS. I think they were able to get to us, but just, oh God, 6 lanes at the middle of like 2 a.m. at this point, just swerving. Like, I don't know, man, pick an exit, which I think is actually a band from our scene back in the day.
Oh yeah, it is.
The 8-Bit Adventure. It was actually a pretty good EP. Anyway, so they show up. She's with some friends, right? And then I forget what we tried to make a plan.
I mean, we ate for like 45 minutes. She gave us each a Monster Energy, and then her friend wanted to go back. So they left.
I don't even think I really ate, but we had a belly. Our bodies were just full of, I think we're halfway through the Mountain Dew palette at this point. And there was a loose plan to go to one of her friends, or not even friends. They were just dorm mates, suite mates, right? Like they weren't necessarily best buds, I think. Anyway, we could go to one of her parents' house and like break in and try to get a little sleep while the parents are sleeping or something. I kind of wanted that for you and Hannah. That's why I drove the extra hundreds of miles from Shippensburg, PA, already too far to even do this. It ended up falling through. I think cooler heads prevailed, and we started the trek back north at approximately 4 a.m.
Yeah, ended up...
It's at least Sunday at this point.
Right. So we're driving north, trying to get to the turnpike, and again, we have an atlas, a road map, and I'm a genius, so I was like, as long as we're going north, we can't get that far out of the way. So we were on a road that said north, but we didn't know that it was just gradually going miles and miles east when we needed to be going west.
So after like hours, it's like, I think from probably 3 to 6 a.m., we're driving 3 hours on back roads. If there was any time to have a Bigfoot sighting, this would have been it. But like one-way bridges and curvy, it felt like a roller coaster at times. It was just very, hilly. We're technically back in Pennsylvania. We cross the smallest "you're in this state now" sign I've ever seen, because of how back, like off, like not an interstate highway, not even a highway, just a road. We just passed a school. We're like, okay, you know how I know this isn't a highway? We're in a neighborhood right now. Like this is a school. I think we used the school's dumpster to throw our Doritos bags away or whatever. Anyway, that's the story I'm going to tell myself. But I remember stopping. So we get to a hotel against all odds, hours later. It's about 6 a.m. The sun's about to rise. We're like, okay, we're going to die because all we've been drinking is Mountain Dew straight to the dome for approximately 12 hours now. Not approximately, actually 12
just
hours.
Straight driving for 12 hours. Yep.
Right. We go into the lobby. We look at the lady. We don't have money. I don't even know why we walked in. She's like, are you guys okay? Just like, what's up, man? You guys look rough. And also, what the are you doing here now? What the is happening? She was so nice. We had gotten in about maybe 40 minutes of sleep in the parking lot in our car.
In the car, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously not a ton of security in the parking lot that night or ever. But she used to be drive a truck in the area and knew how to get back to the interstate and gave us very detailed maps and was like, you can have some of the coffee and continental breakfast in the lobby for free. They were setting up for their Sunday continental thing. It was just like maybe we split a bagel and had a little bit of black coffee, which caffeine was probably definitely the worst thing to continue adding to our systems at this point. So the sun's rising, beautiful, scenic central Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure we passed Taylor Swift's hometown on accident and didn't even realize it, probably. I'm totally kidding. She was more towards Philly. But we get back, and I think we end up in 70 or 80 or whatever, heading west towards Pittsburgh. We stop at the University of Pittsburgh to meet Ashley, who was the other person in the study hall we often reference when we were all together with Hannah. I don't know if you want to bleep the name, whatever. But they gave us a dining hall swipe, and we had our first real meal. Because I don't remember eating a meal at the diner. I just remember being like, oh my God, we did it. And we just left and it was like, this fucking wasn't worth it. But, because like, if nothing else, we should have gone for broke and actually stayed over somewhere and then got.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like the driving we did. And anyway, so we're at Pitt. There's a picture of us exhausted. Our eyes are basically shut in the photo. It is supposed to look like this cool Wanderlust photo, but we just look like, I guess latchkey kids that don't have a home anymore. I don't know. It's just like, where do you two belong? Because it's not here. It's similar to what the woman at the hotel might have said to us. But we get a meal and then we get home and we can't even find 79 because we're so lost because Pittsburgh sucks.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but we ended up like underneath the city in this weird, like, I don't even know what it was. I remember though, almost like there was a hairpin turn that was going down really sharp and we almost drove off the cliff of that, and then a hill coming out of Pittsburgh when we finally spent like a half an hour just trying to get out of the damn city. Your mom's car was in like such bad shape. I remember we were at a red light at the bottom of the hill and it took a fucking eternity to accelerate up this hill.
Yeah.
Just
again,
like the
they had to drive
screaming
from Erie, Pennsylvania to Chicago 6 days later. But you continued with the advice, let's continue to attempt heading north, which at this point was correct. But we ended up hitting like Route 8, which again is just stoplights instead of what would have been an Interstate 79 situation. But might have been better for the car overall because we didn't have to maintain a certain speed thanks to the stopping, I guess. Anyway, we get home by 7 or 8.
We were very relieved when we were north of Pittsburgh because we at least thought if the car broke down, we could explain why we're there.
That's a really good point.
I remember being relieved.
The internet existed. They could have searched for the show, right? I think now a parent would know to be like,
oh, totally.
Like, again, not to be like back in our day, but back in our day, lies like that, you can get away with stuff. Barely. Except that we fucking super didn't because the odometer read, what?
1,100
miles. Which, again, percentage-wise didn't add too many. But logistically, it went from like 200,000 to 2, Anyway, so we get home. I think the bags under my eyes had sunk to my knees at that point. And my dad was like, how was Pittsburgh? Like, oh man. I don't know what we have you for, but I know it's kind of like when cops arrest somebody and they're like, I don't know what the charge is yet, but we can hold him for 24 hours until we figure it out. So like, they're just like, yeah, you can go to bed. I'm confident we'll figure it out. It didn't take them very long at all. Was it worth it to you? Did you get in trouble?
Well, my mom didn't even care. I didn't even tell her where we were going. I was just like, Pat and I are going on a road trip. And she was like, all right, see ya. Like,
cool.
Did not give a shit, which was uncommon, which made me suspicious. But anyway, no, it was super worth it because it's like, honestly, it was my only experience looking back to where when I could tell my kids about like, oh, just being a teen, that's my one story. Like, that's basically it.
We have more, but that's definitely a big one of like, excuse me, a baking powder? You did what? Just rude use of your family's resources, honestly. But the killer is that I did not get in trouble for it. I stayed home as planned from the wedding the next week and went to Iroquois' homecoming and had a pretty good time, but it felt weird. It felt hollow, given the circumstances. Maybe they knew what they were doing with the mind play or something. My cousins still give me stuff for it. They're like, I don't know. It's one of their favorite stories of me, but they're not that well behaved either. Honestly, a bunch of Irish idiots in my family, myself
Pat,
included.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you kind of relieve some of the heat by like telling your mom that I like super pressured you into going to DC?
That's a good question. She already knew what had happened, so I'm not sure what face I would have saved.
Well,
But also, I'm not sure it's unfair to say that you wouldn't have, given the Hannah situation.
Well, I feel like I was very like, hey man, this is crazy, but let me throw this idea out there. I think
Okay.
I think I remembered like years later, you were like, by the way, I told my mom that you pressured me into it, so that's why she like you weren't allowed at my house for a while. I don't know.
Okay, I think there's a couple things at play there. It's possible I used that. I'll concede it. Could she have crucified me regardless? 100%.
Sure.
So it would have been weird for me to keep using that. Also, you didn't come to the east side of town very often anyhow. And yeah, she would have had enough on me. Like there was no plea agreement. You know what I mean? There's nothing in the legal system of our family would have saved me had I even made that play. Yeah, it was an odd thing. And I think we can put a bow on it just to say that if you've heard that story before on the show, that means you've been here for a long time.
Time.
We owe you a big thank you. But it deserved to surface every 100 episodes or so, probably. And getting back to All Time Low, I've never actually seen them live, right? Despite the two quote-unquote efforts to go see them. Oh, yes, I have. I saw them years later, where they didn't play J.C. Ray. But here's what I want to talk about. Is All Time Low one of those bands you liked a lot but were a little embarrassed about and not embarrassed, but wouldn't gloat or wouldn't be too forward about? For me, I feel like Mayday Parade is definitely one of those bands. But when you look at some of the numbers Dear Maria put up in terms of sales and going platinum and things like that, do they qualify as one of the legacy acts of the aughts or this time period we do the show about? I don't know. Like, were you gloating about like, man, I go deep with All Time Low? Or were you? To me, I'm curious what you have to say, basically, because I feel like they're on the bubble between those two worlds.
Well,
that might be unfair.
I think it's unfair to call them a legacy band from the aughts because I think they're still active and doing very well. Although So Wrong It's Right was produced by Matt Squire, and I think he did a much better job at capturing the genre than Feldman is doing right now. He's the one that did Blink's last two albums, overproduced, whatever. But I have to admit, I only knew like the 5 or 6 songs from All Time Low that I had from LimeWire, but I adored those songs. I wasn't super embarrassed, I guess, to say that I liked them, but it did cross my mind when I would say, like, if someone's like, what are you listening to? I'd be like, All Time Low, just kind of like a little hesitant. And I don't think it was the music. I think it was their image at the time, like the super bright neon, the bangs that are coming from the back of your head, like the coy boy trying to be cute and adorable.
Coy boy.
Which
wow. We need to copyright it. We need to make a t-shirt.
Like half fish, half boy.
This is the first. Oh my God. Wow. Taking it in a super creative direction. I love that. Tom, who are you and what have you done with Tom? Just kidding. Here's what I have to say. I wrote down my first notes about the music video itself, which, thank you, 40 minutes for getting to finally. Thanks for being here, everybody. Legitimately, thank you. The hair, the shoes, the hoodies, the scene. This is the first late scene band we've gotten to. We did a loose Mayday Parade trivia game episode that we were still figuring out the format of the show a little bit. Things had gotten officially insane-o at this point, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that had they popped a few years earlier, they might have been wearing different stuff and their hair might have been different. But they got big at a time when certain elements were being very celebrated. The hair, probably specifically. I don't know. But maybe they're treated unfairly based on like the very specific set of few months that they hit during where certain things are being celebrated. Do you agree? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't know if
you tweeted that picture of your hair during the course of our high school career from all your school photos, and you can kind of see what the band's hairs would have been like, right? Like, do you feel that's an accurate portrayal of what the scene's norm was during those years?
Yeah, totally. I think heading into 2007 and 8, the bangs got longer. They were coming from more of the side of the head. The t-shirts were getting brighter and they were getting tighter. And there was also this thing that I thought was so cool at the time where like you would buy a shirt from the Salvation Army that was a sport you didn't play at a school you didn't go to.
I think you credit Avril for that one. I'm serious. Skater boy with the tie. I mean, I do feel the tight tee of a high school sports team thing started there. I'm not trying to be funny.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I saw a little bit of that from one of the members in the video, and it was just like, I wanted to be them so badly. Not the coy boy thing, but like there was like
I love that. So, did you for real come up with that?
Yeah, it's not like.
I think it's incredible just because it's a play on an actual term that's legitimately been used in the year of our Lord 2020 or 2019 more appropriately. I mean, people toss around the term soy boy a lot in, this iteration of America, this great experiment of a democratic republic. And I think that's so funny and odd. People calling each other cucks and soy boys and stuff. But the fact that you're playing off that into coy boy for a term from the scene from that era, I can't explain why I love it so much. I just really love it. And I'll stop there because I can't put it into words yet. But I thank you for bringing that to light because it explains so vividly what the whole aura of the music videos, Four Coy Boys, like of all the gin joints, but of all the strip clubs in the world, here come Four Coy Boys, right? Kind of to set the scene. You had referenced in an episode a few episodes earlier. Is this about a stripper? We watched the video. Yes, there's a stripper. It's in a strip club. My wife joked, I don't think this would pass the Bechdel test. I think she was being, tongue-in-cheek about it because the Bechdel test is, does your movie or story have a scene where two women are talking to each other, not about a romantic interest?
And
obviously,
do they have
I think
names?
She was being exactly
right.
No name. Literally the only woman. There's as many primates as there are women in this movie, right? Like there's a monkey in a diaper and a woman, and the band plays themselves and another version of the band. They all have other roles, dressed weirder and goofier in the strip club at the time. Anyway, that's the scene. Maria is the girl, presumably, right? That's what we're dealing with here.
I guess so. And one thing I do want to mention about Maria is she looks like Liv Tyler and Lorelai Gilmore put together. What the hell's her name? Lorelai Gilmore. Which kind of was real weird for me when it happened.
Laura Graham? No.
Lauren Graham. There you go. So there is a video on MTV of the band of All Time Low watching this video after 10 years. And the band claims they haven't seen this video since it came out. And the whole time the band was like, dude, what is happening? Like, why are we fighting? There's not really a story, is there? And the last quote in the video was Alex Gaskarth quoted as, so, hey, there's the video. I'm still not sure what it was about, but hey, there's a monkey.
That's exactly what our Google Doc says. It's that sentence. And we didn't even know he said it. No, just kidding. So when you open up everything, there's a little bit of Sum 41 goofball energy with them playing different characters, but it's obviously them. There's a bartender and a goofy, get up. Everyone's at a strip club. It's supposed to be a little sleazy vibe, whatever. The band's playing in the strip club itself. This is about strippers, ! I wrote because it became so obvious listening to the song again before I had seen the video. The cash flow leaves me always wanting more, for example, right? The way you take the stage by storm, et cetera, et cetera. How didn't I get it right? Here's a question: Is Gaskarth one of the best satirists of our generation? Considering his song "Strange Love" when he's working with Mark Hoppus and the band Simple Creatures, "Strange Love" is a great pop song about an orgy. This is a great pop song about running away with a stripper. Is he low key a genius satirist? In terms of bringing very sexual subjects to light through pop songs.
Ooh. Well, it got by me, I'll tell you that. And I think there's an element of talking about some deeper stuff in a pop song. It's so catchy, no one really gets it, but everyone knows the song, seeps into the subconscious. I think maybe a lot of people don't take the band seriously for their look and maybe just the poppy vibe, but I think he's a much better lyricist.
The thumbnail on YouTube works against it with the hair and the smile. I think it does work against, because it's just like, yeah, that was off in his face during that era, but also like, it's not like we weren't rocking out to it, but I do feel like when I got to college, I was sitting behind somebody in a big lecture hall, the screensaver or the background was the album title to whatever, So Wrong It's Right, I think. And I was like, it was a girl I knew from my dorm, and I was like, huh, okay. Between that and going to Cleveland and seeing so many young teen girls in line to see them, I was like, okay. There's just a lot to consider here.
Well, let's talk about the thumbnail. First of all, that's not Alex. That is one of the other members.
My apologies, yes.
Which is weird because the first few times I saw it, that didn't occur to me. But the face he's making in that thumbnail, it's funny how that is the exact face you see in like every YouTube kind of like how to or like self-help or like, I tried this thing and I didn't know what would happen. You'll never guess. It's like that totally emotionless but trying to look shocked face. And it's like, it's so funny how that thumbnail looks so terrible, but totally fits in with like everything today. Just
if we talk about social media faces, I think there's duck face is probably the most recognizable phrase. What you just described had a moment as well early on. I feel like, now it's like fake laughing joy, very toothy, fake laugh smile. But back then it was just like, it's just like that. I feel like that was a MySpace era social media thing where people were like, everyone make a silly face. They're like, this is one I've seen people make. I'll make it. Whatever. Okay. There's a cough at the beginning before any music.
Yeah. What the hell?
Thoughts on it. There's a cough at the beginning of the Jet song, Wanna Be My Girl. I'm not getting the title right, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well.
Thoughts on coughs and left into the recording. Is it endearing or does it upset you?
Well, let me tell you. So, I think that there's a difference between some rock songs where it started with a clearing of the throat, but it seems like they tried to do this in this video and it was just like a cough rather than like,
right.
I'm about to rock your brains out.
Right. I'm not clearing anything out. I'm just possibly ill because I don't eat enough. Very skinny young men fighting with tight t-shirt ons. I will say the fight scene where they're, I guess, fighting over the rights to steal the stripper from the strip club. I don't even know what the fight is about. Again, like he said, it's a thing and there's a monkey. That's kind of the whole thing. But basically you could say that about one of the seasons of Friends, I'm pretty sure. But I don't even know if that's a good joke. I don't know Friends well enough. Sorry, everybody. But thank you for laughing, Tom, as always. I'm sorry. You threw me off. Or I threw myself off. The fight, you've seen that fight outside of every venue you've ever been to as a teen, going to a show. Just two white kids, and the tighter the tee, the more you knew the fight wasn't actually going to lead to anything, right? Just like in each other's face. Their chests aren't bumping each other because they're almost inward. You know what I mean? They're almost bird-chested, both of them. I think I've even been involved with one of those fights, or lack thereof, I guess. Anyway, I thought the fight scene was very indicative of a very particular few-month period in the scene. I don't know if you agree with that in terms of evaluating late scene violence in the aughts, or lack thereof.
I don't have any thoughts. I just think it's hilarious. The video is nonsensical.
So I was like, I've seen that before. I've seen two bird-chested dudes in tight tees get after each other like that. I can't put a pin on it. I can't really locate that memory. Anyway, we talk about this a lot in the show. I just want to run through this real quick. Sorry if we're speeding through this, everybody, but we didn't want to run long on you today. We decided to tell a story that we didn't plan on telling. We talk a lot about, this is a classic boy and girl in point A wanting to go from point A to point B. I want to keep track of that sometimes just because I think more often than not, it's the same stories over and over, just with different, different lipstick on the pig or whatever the I'm awful with sayings. The bridge. Let's talk about how catchy the bridge is. I think it's a staple of the whole experience. They laugh during it as sort of like a power move. Oh my God. You just nailed that, honestly. But the ha-ha, I think, is a flex. I'm here for it. Thoughts on the bridge and how honestly iconic it is.
Oh yeah. Just drops out. Just the drums, little ba-ba-na, and the guitars. Yeah, dude, Matt Squire, he has produced a ton of songs that we talk about on the show. And again, I'm always left wondering, did the band write this? Did Matt Squire write it? Because it's a very just like well done pop punk bridge. And the way it builds up and then comes crashing down again for 2 bars as it's just the lyrics in the verse and then it all comes in. It's like somehow it's so obvious, but it's still so surprising and exciting every time. it's a very wonderfully written song and produced.
I'll say this about the cough. Immediately after the cough, you get lyrics, you get the idea, it's a verse, there's no messing around. It's just, oh, I'm enjoying this ride already, and we're only a few seconds in. I got your picture, I'm coming with you. It's like, cool, we're going somewhere. Girl and boy, point A, going to point B, love it, I'm in.
Yeah.
Sign me the up. What else did I want to say? Thoughts on, and we might close with this just because we're hitting the time limit that we kind of set for ourselves. Just again, this has been a hectic stretch for all of us. Thanks for being here, everybody. I view them as kind of like weird drama club poem lyric band.
Oh.
I think Taking Back Sunday was the original weird drama club lyric band where they try to be almost Victorian or something with it, where there's just like, not that I guess All American Rejects using the word beseech and we joke about that a lot in the show, but like Taking Back Sunday did that kind of like, 100 level lit class in college thing. But I think All Time Low kind of took it to an nth degree with it a little bit. How do you feel about the lyrics of them as a band overall? Did it turn you off?
I'm always shocked when you make that parallel, because I would never equate Alex Gaskarth with the lyrical mosaicness of Adam Lazzara.
I would say it's ambitious. I would say the lyrics are ambitious, and more than half the time they hit. But when they don't, it feels like that was a big swing for sure. Like Remembering Sunday is a good example of half the song really works. Half the song, I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
Right? I think if nothing else, maybe I'll just adjust it to say that they are ambitious, but it works in this song where it's like there's a story at the bottom of the bottle and I'm a pen. Like often bands of this era didn't try to get that.
Sure.
Is poetic even the right word? Am I butchering this whole point? But like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
you're right.
They were really going for the whole very poet. Like Mark Hoppus joked on Twitter the other day, a meme about a scene from Little Women where I failed, I tried, and I can't. And the point he was trying to make was that he can't write a song without the lyric "she said" in it. Like Mark Hoppus was never going to write a song with like, he was never going to use the word "fucking beseech" or that there's a story at the bottom of the bottle and only he was the pen who was beseeched by thine truest love. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that I think there's I was trying to draw lines during this episode of All Time Low between them and Mayday and them and Taking Back Sunday. If you agreed with either of those takes. I think we've landed on the fact that they were legitimately good. This was a platinum song. Let's pop the bubble real quick. They were legit, but they might not be exactly the top tier of the crop of 2000s music that we talk about on the show. Is that a fair way to sum this up and wrap it up?
I'd say that is fair. I will maybe try to adjust your last point. They may not have been top tier in maybe quality, but I think in how they dominated the space, maybe.
Well, let's say this. We've talked about Give Up. We've talked about Motion City soundtrack and Paramore albums, full albums. Do you think they suffered from the fact that perhaps they don't have one of those legacy albums front to back?
Probably. Yeah,
I think maybe that's the point I'm trying to make. And I don't want to be unfair. I went back and revisited a lot of their songs. And again, playlists with Jay-Z Ray freaking twice on it. Like, I went through a big all-time low phase, but there was not that legacy album perhaps. And maybe they are a tier B or tier 2 band of this era for that reason alone, fairly unfairly. But I think that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. No, we can close it out with that. That's fair.
Sure.
But we still love
and they might have been victims of the fucking scene itself with the hair that was necessary for people to be famous at the time. I think even Less Than Jake poked fun at the Mayday parades of the world at the time, thinking it was more, it was kind of like a rebirth of, and again, we've talked about the roots of the Killers, bringing back some of the New York Dolls from the 80s and kind of the glam aspect of this and that and why our particular scene was so fucking weird with the tight pants and everything. But there was some flash to it, of course, which drew some ire from some people within the music community itself. Anyway, I think that's most of what we wanted to say about the music video. I'm glad we got to retell the story of the best adventure we've ever been on.
Yeah,
honestly, as a friend duo. Anyway, do you want to do songs of the week and get out of here, or did you have some housekeeping stuff you wanted to hit?
Not much. I mean, I guess now while we're recording, I'm also going to be filming a couple behind the scenes stuff for the Patreon that you can check out. Patreon.com/reminiscent. So that's kind of fun, trying to making content within content, because we are, Pat, content creators. I know how much you love that phrase, but that's really all the housekeeping. Nothing really. I think at the time of this coming out, I'm either in California or Florida as the Mr. Coast to Coast, I think it was.
Mr. Coast to Coast knows.
And I'm excited to get back in town because we're going to be basically a month without recording together. The audience won't know that, so we don't need to say
you're
anything.
You're going to itch for more within a week and a half per usual.
Totally.
But the break will be good because we've been kind of hitting it hard. What can you say? He's Mr. Coast to Coast.
Well, let's give the song of the week. Again, this episode was recorded far before it was published. Recently, Stand Atlantic, one of my favorites, came out with a single called Shh, and it is very good.
Spaghetti, bitch.
Spaghetti, bitch. So the song is really interesting. I stayed up really late to listen to it, and it was fascinating because as I was listening to the first verse, I was like, where are they trying to go with this? It didn't seem to quite make sense. And then when the chorus dropped, I was like, okay, I can kind of see something here, but I'm really still not quite getting it. And by the time the song was done, I was like, dude, what just happened to me? Like, it was so strange. I could not figure out what was going on with the song. And then the second playthrough, it was like, I already had this, I was kind of conditioned for what was going to happen and like could really appreciate all the complexities that were going on in this song. And like every time I listened to it, it just got better and better and better. And I don't think I've ever had that experience with a song before. Like, I think it made me feel and think a way that I never have. And I thought that was really unique and interesting. So Shh by Stand Atlantic is mine for this week.
Awesome. Mine is a listener recommendation, Rat Boys from the album Printer's Devil. Came out this year. The song is called Alien with a Sleep Mask On. I'm saying it here now because I remember liking it at the time, but I also remember that I don't remember it at all because it happened a few weeks ago when we have been going at a breakneck pace and I just started a new job recently, so please forgive me. I do believe it's good and do check it out, but I'm saying it now so when I listen back to this episode later after it's published, I'll remember to go check it out more in depth when I get a minute to breathe a little bit here. But Rat Boys, Alien with a Sleep Mask On off of Printer's Devil.
Cool. Very exciting, man. Well, yeah, I love reliving that story. I picked up a couple things I forgot from time.
I'm shocked we've only done it twice. I don't think I would have sold you out to my mom too hard because it's not like she holds a grudge against you or anything. If nothing else, it's just something my cousins, ribbed me for later in life, even though they have way worse stories, but I guess we don't really go there. I don't know. Like mine is just innocent enough that it's easy to be joked about because nobody got hurt, or you know what I mean? Like there was no real feelings hurt. Other than maybe Alex Skarsgård and Jesse Lacey, because we didn't pay money to see one of their shows that night. Had that show gone on, we should do an episode about what that fictional show might have looked like, maybe. But that's enough for this week. Tom, I love you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. There's a shocking number of you here, and we appreciate every single one of you. I love you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, love you too, dude. See you. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. You can find the show notes at reminiscentpodcast.com/episode/161. Please hit us up on Twitter and let us know your wildest road trip or high school memory. And you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/reminiscent. Lots of cool stuff in there already. This is the first time we've announced it, and we're really excited for you to check it out and to be producing even more stuff for you guys because we love it. We love you all, and we cannot wait to talk to you next week. We've got an awesome draft already recorded. We'll talk to you then. Bye.